Is joining us now live from Iowa. Senator, always good to have you here in the Situation Room. I just want to be precise on the issue of Iran. When it comes to Santorum saying he's ready to bomb Iran to prevent it from getting a nuclear bomb, your dad has a very different position. Just outline what your dad's position as far as Iran is concerned.
You know, Ron Paul doesn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. He thinks it could destabilize the Middle East. But should they get nuclear weapons, he thinks that there are some choices and that we shouldn't box ourselves into a war. Interestingly, 2 days ago, the head of Mossad, Tamir Pardo, said exactly the same thing. If we keep saying that it's an existential threat to Israel, we box Israel and the United States into a cataclysmic war without a choice. And I think people like Santorum are dangerous in the sense that I don't think they're thinking through the issues of what the unintended consequences of war are. And I think what the American people need and what Republicans should think about is you want a commander-in-chief who's in charge of nuclear weapons who will not use them carelessly, who will not take the nation to war carelessly, and who also understands that Congress gets to vote on declaring war. One man should never decide for our country to go to war.
When you heard Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, tell me last week that if your dad got the Republican presidential nomination, he couldn't vote for him, what was your reaction?
I guess the thing is that I'm worried about the rest of the nominees in the sense that I don't want to have a commander-in-chief who would recklessly take us to war. So when they say Ron Paul's dangerous, I think completely the opposite. I think what would be dangerous would be to have a commander-in-chief who is reckless, who would take us to war. Interestingly, they try to paint Ron Paul's position as outside the mainstream. The three previous heads of the U.S. Central Command, General Zinni, Abizaid, and Fallon, all have warned against a preemptive attack. Meyer Dagan, the former head of Mossad, has warned against a preemptive attack. People think Israel is this monolithic body of people that all want the same thing. Israel has divided opinion on this. Two heads of Mossad, the previous head of Shin Bet, the previous head of the military intelligence, Gebi Ashkenazi. There are a lot of people who have expressed some doubt about whether or not it's a good idea to invade or have a war with Iran.
You know, some of these latest ads that your dad's campaign is doing in Iowa, one of them suggesting Mitt Romney is really a liberal. Do you consider Mitt Romney, the front runner, together with your father right now, a liberal?
You know, I'm unaware of that. I know that the campaign is putting out some things on Rick Santorum, talking about how he voted to double the size of the Department of Education, how he voted for No Child Left Behind, how he voted for Medicare Part D, the largest entitlement program in the last decade, and how Rick Santorum has also supported foreign aid repeatedly. You know, I came from the Tea Party movement. I don't know any conservative Republican or any Tea Party member who thinks that foreign aid is a good idea when we have this massive debt. And Rick Santorum, I don't think, has ever voted against foreign aid.
So you go so far as to call Rick Santorum a liberal?
Well, what I would say is that as you rise to the top, you get more scrutiny. And welcome to the top tier, maybe, for Rick Santorum. If he does well here tonight, he's going to have some explaining to do. He's going to have to explain these votes. Foreign aid is not something the vast majority of the Americans support, but definitely not conservatives. Most conservatives thought Medicare Part D, the expansion of a Medicare when Medicare was already short of money, wasn't a good idea. And most good old Reagan conservatives think we should be eliminating the Department of Education, not doubling it in size. So Rick Santorum on a lot of economic issues has been, I think, most charitably described as a moderate, but you could say a moderate to liberal. Look, he supported Arlen Specter, not only for Senate, but for president. He supported him against Pat Toomey, who most of us think of as a good conservative. So I think these are choices that show that really Rick Santorum running as a conservative may not be all it's cracked up to be.